Hello students, welcome back. This is Dr. Mercado speaking. We are going to move forward with the content on chapter 17. Now the next problem that I'm going to be covering deals with the cost of production report. Now this is a super important exercise because you are going to see this on your test. Okay, so we do need to know how to complete a cost of production report. So a cost of production report basically summarizes the production and cost data for each department. The cost of production report is prepared by determining the units to be assigned cost, by computing the equivalent units of production, and determining the cost per equivalent unit, and allocating cost to units transferred out and partially completed units. Okay. The cost of production reports is used for decision making by providing information for controlling and improving operations. Comparisons of equivalent cost per unit over time can be used to isolate increases or decreases in cost for further investigation by management. Okay, so it's very important that we learn how to complete a cost of production report. There are several examples provided to you in the textbook, so make sure that you review those examples provided to be able to serve as guidance for completing your homework. So I'm going to jump into exercise 17-16, which deals with a cost of production report. So this problem reads: the debits to work in process for the roasting department for Morning Brew Coffee Company for August, together with information concerning productions, are as follows. And they give us the working process August the 1st. We have 700 pounds of coffee, 20% completed, 3,479. We have direct materials of 3,290. Conversion cost of 189 for a total of 3,479. We've got coffee beans added during August, 14,300 pounds of coffee beans for a cost of 65,780. We've got conversion costs during August of 21,942. Working process as of August the 31st, we got 400 pounds of coffee beans. They're 42% completed, and we don't know the cost. And we've got finished goods during August of 14,600 pounds, and we don't know the cost. All direct materials are placed in process at the beginning of production. Super important. The problem is asking us to prepare a cost of production report presenting the following computations. Number 1. Direct materials and conversion equivalent units of production for August. Number 2, direct materials and conversion cost per equivalent unit for August. Cost of goods finished during August and cost of working process at August the 31st. Okay, so let's get started with the cost of production report. After we're done with the cost of production report, we're being asked to compute and evaluate the changes in cost per equivalent unit for direct materials and conversion from the previous month, July. So we've got the cost of production report set up. We've got the name of the company, the name of the report, which is cost of production report for the roasting department, and this is for the month ended August the 31st. Okay, so first we're going to start with unit information. Okay, and then we're going to move down to the actual cost component. Okay, so unit information. So we have our units charged to production. Okay, so first we have the inventory in process. That is what we're carrying forward from last month. That's what we didn't get to finish last month, and we have to finish this month. Okay, so how many units do we have? Well, according to the problem, we've got 700 pounds of coffee beans from last month to this month. So that is what we're carrying forward. How many units? 700 pounds. So I'm going to put that over there, 700 pounds. Okay. Then we have what we received from materials storeroom. Okay. So it says here coffee beans added during August. We added 14,300 pounds of coffee beans from the storeroom. Okay, I'm going to be marking them, that way you know where I'm getting this information. I'm not making it up. It's all provided in the problem. So we added 14,300 pounds this month. Okay, so now the total units accounted for by the roasting department, we're going to add those two together. That's our beginning inventory plus whatever we added during this month. that gives us 15,000 pounds of coffee beans. Okay. Now we're going to start doing units to be assigned costs. Okay. Okay. So we know we're going to start off with our inventory in process August the 1st. And these are 20% complete. Okay. So how many pounds of coffee beans do we have in our beginning working process? Well, we had 700 pounds. Okay. So under our whole units, we're going to put the 700 pounds that we carried forward from last month. Okay. Now, when does the problem say that we need to add the materials? The materials right here. It says all direct materials are placed in process at the beginning of production. When did we start producing these coffee beans? Was it in the month of July or the month of August? The answer is we started producing these coffee beans last month in July. So, are we going to have any direct materials cost? No. The direct material cost was added in July, the month that we began production. So because we carried that over from July to August, then my direct materials is going to be 0. And once again, it's 0 because we add materials the month that we begin production. We started production for these coffee beans in July. So this month that we finished them, we will not have any direct material costs associated with it. Okay. Now how about conversion cost? Okay. Now for conversion costs, we do have conversion costs. Why? Because it says here that we had working process of 700 pounds and it was 20% completed. So we finished those 700 pounds of coffee beans in the month of August. So if we finished them and they were only 20% complete when we transferred them over, that means that this month we completed 80% of it. Okay, so we're going to get the 700 pounds. And then this month, we completed 80% of it. Why? Because only 20% was completed last month. So that means this month, we're going to complete 80%. And that gives me 560. Okay. So how do we get the 560? We're going to get the amount of coffee beans that we had, which was 700 pounds. And how much did we complete in the month of August? Well, they were only 20% complete last month, so that means that this month we completed 80% to make it 100%, and then that gave us the 560. Okay. How about what was started and completed in August? Okay. How many pounds were started and completed in August? Okay. So for that, we have to do some analysis, okay? So I know that this month I put into production 14,300 pounds of coffee beans. Now I also know, if we read further, that we had 400 pounds of coffee beans that we did not get to complete the process, okay? So we've got 14,300 of coffee beans that were added in the month of August, and I know 400 of those pounds were not completed. So that means that we must have completed 13,900 pounds of coffee. Okay? So that's going to be 13,900. Okay? And once again, how did I get the 13,900? Well, I know I added coffee beans of 14,300, and I know that I did not finish 400 pounds of those. So that means I finished 13,900. Okay? For direct material purposes, this is the month, August is the month that we put it into production, those coffee beans. So that means this is the month that I'm going to add my direct materials. Remember, direct materials are added at the beginning of production, which is this month. So I'm going to have 13,900 for direct materials. For conversion cost purposes, I'm also going to have 13,900 pounds of coffee beans. Why? Because the whole 13,900 were started and completed during the month of August. Okay? So now I can calculate how much was transferred to finished goods. Okay? So to do that, you add your inventory in process at the beginning of August plus what you started and completed in August. Okay, and that will give you a total, and you're going to do that for both the whole units, the direct materials, and the conversion. Okay, you add your inventory in process plus what you started and completed to get your total. Okay? And that will give you the transfer to finished goods in August amount. That is what's done, complete, ready to be sold. Okay? Now I've got my inventory in process as of August the 31st. And these are 42% complete. Okay. So, inventory in process as of August the 31st. Well, it says here that we have 400 pounds of coffee beans that are in process. How many pounds? 400 pounds. That's all right there. We've got 400 pounds working process at the end of August. Okay. Now, how much am I going to charge for my direct material equivalent units of production? Well, we did start these 400 pounds in the month of August, and it says here that all direct materials are placed in process at the beginning of production. So because August is the beginning of production, I'm going to charge the 400 to my direct materials. Even though they're not done, I add my materials at the beginning of production, regardless if they're completed or not. Okay, so 400 pounds are going to be added to my direct materials. Now, for conversion cost purposes, we are only going to add the portion that was completed this month. Okay, so remember, conversion cost is your labor and your overhead. Okay, so how much labor and overhead did you spend on that 42% completion that you have here for the work in process? Well, we're going to get the 400 pounds times 42% complete, and that's going to give us 168 pounds. Okay, 168. So my inventory in process for whole units is I have 400 units that are not complete, that are pending to be completed. For direct materials, I'm going to add the 400 pounds. Why? Because the materials are added at the beginning of production. And then for conversion costs, I'm only going to add the percentage that was completed, which was the 400 times the 42%. And then that gives me the 168. And then we can calculate the total units to be assigned costs. Okay? And that's going to give us, we add those two. And we do that for the 3 columns. And that gives me 15,000 whole units, 14,300 for direct material purposes, and 14,628 for conversion cost purposes. So, direct materials and conversion equivalent units of production for August are 14,000 for materials and 14,628 for conversion. Okay? So that is in units. Okay? These are the units. Now we have to do the same thing, but for the costs. Okay? Let me delete this. Well, no, I'm not, because then it'll screw everything up. Okay? So that is dealing with units. Now we're going to move down to costs. Okay? Costs. And then these are my equivalent units. Okay? So, now for the cost component, we're going to use the information that we just calculated, and we're going to use that down here to do some calculations. So, for the cost, we've got costs per equivalent unit. Okay? So, we've got the total cost for August in roasting department. Okay? So, the coffee beans that were added, we added during the month of August 14,300 pounds of coffee beans, and that cost was $65,780. Right here. Okay? $65,780. So I'm going to, my materials are $65,780. Okay? Your conversion costs were given to you as well. Okay? If you look right below, we've got conversion costs during August of $21,942. Okay? So those are given to you in the problem. Let me mark that over here. That way you know where I'm getting those numbers. Okay? So that these numbers are coming from up here. Okay, so now I'm going to get my total equivalent units. Okay. Now your total equivalent units are coming from what we calculated over here. So I'm going to highlight these another color. So those are coming in here. Okay. So for direct materials, I've got my direct materials 14,300. So then that gives you that number right there. For your conversion, your equivalent units are 14,628. Okay. So that number is coming from right there. Okay. So your total equivalent units are coming from what we just calculated. Okay. Okay. So we're gonna get that, and we're gonna get our total cost for August, and then here we're gonna divide by our total equivalent units. Okay. And then that's gonna give us our cost per equivalent unit. So what are we going to do? We're going to get the 65,780 divided by the total equivalent units, and that's going to give me $4.60 per unit for direct materials. And then we're going to get the 21,942 divided by the 14,628. That gives me $1.50 for my conversion cost per unit. Okay? And these numbers are very important because you're going to be using your cost per equivalent unit further down in some future calculations. So in accounting, it's kind of like very black and white. You make one mistake, that mistake trickles down to the rest of your calculations, then everything is going to be off. So it's very important that we are very cautious when solving. That way, you don't make a mistake that's going to end up causing the whole problem to be incorrect. Okay? So, now this is your cost per equivalent unit. So that is number 2. Direct materials and conversion costs per equivalent unit. So for direct materials, it's $4.60. For conversion, it's $1.50. So this is requirement number 2. So maybe I should put a little number here. This is number 1. Okay. Let me see. Does it even let me? What do we do? Text. Let me see. There we go. It needs to be text. Woohoo! Okay, we got it. Okay, so that would be requirement number 1, those numbers. And then requirement number 2 will be your cost per equivalent unit. Okay, and then that has to be text. Okay, so that is number 2. Direct materials and conversion cost per equivalent unit. Cost per equivalent unit is $4.60 and $1.50. Okay, now we have to move on to the cost of goods finished during August. Okay, so now we're going to assign our cost. Okay, costs assigned to production. And this is where it gets fun. Okay, so here we have our inventory in process. Okay, we have our inventory in process as of August the 1st. Okay, so our cost assigned to production. So how much do we have? What was the cost for our inventory in process? Well, our cost for the inventory in process, right here, it was $34.79. That was given to us in the problem. Okay, so we're going to bring that down, $34.79. Okay, cost incurred in August. Okay. And then that cost, it's provided to you for your materials of $65,780 for the pounds of coffee, and then the conversion cost of $21,942. So if you add those two together, it's $65,780 plus $21,942. That gives me $87,722. Okay, okay, so that's gonna be the 65,780 plus the 21,942. Okay, So then that's gonna give me, okay, what did we say that was gonna give me? Sorry, I got a brain freeze here. 65,780 plus 21,942. That gives me 87,722. Okay. So then that number goes right there. 87,722. Okay. So now we add those two to get our total cost accounted for by the roasting department. Okay. We're going to add our beginning inventory cost plus what we added the current month, and that gives me 91,201. Okay. Okay. Now we're going to allocate some costs. Okay. Let me delete this. So here we have our costs allocated to completed and partially completed units. Okay. So we're going to start off with our inventory in process. Okay. August the 1st balance. And for that, we had our cost for our inventory in process balance was $34.79. So we're going to get that over here. Okay. And then to complete inventory in process August the 1st. Now here we're going to pay very close attention, okay, because we're going to use the information on the top. Okay, we're going to be using this information. So this is the inventory in process that we have to complete. Now we need to figure out the cost associated with completing it. Okay, so for materials, we had, these are the numbers that we're using. I'm going to highlight them a different color. Okay, so for materials, I said I don't need to complete anything for materials because materials is added at the beginning of production. Materials was added in July. So for materials, I'm going to have a 0. Okay, for direct materials, it's 0. I'm bringing it down from over here, 0. Now, how about for my conversion? Okay, so for your conversion, you have 560 units pending to be completed. 560. Okay, so I have 560 units pending to be completed. My conversion cost per unit is $1.50. Okay, so down here, I'm going to get my 560 units in green, and I'm going to multiply it by my $1.50. This is my conversion cost per unit, and that's going to give me $8.40. So what you're doing is you're getting your units to be assigned costs. This is your beginning inventory, what you need to complete. We identified, this is the first one is for materials, the second one is for conversion. Once you get these numbers, you pick them up, you multiply them times the cost per equivalent unit, whether it be materials or conversion. So I've got 0 times 460, that gives me 0. I've got 560 times 150, that gives me 840. Okay, and then I'm going to add the total. Oh, sorry, I don't know what I did. Okay, so I'm going to add the materials and the conversion cost, and that gives me 840. Okay. Now I've got the cost of completed okay, so we have the cost of completed, yes, the cost of completed August 1st work in process. Okay, so I know that I had spent $3,479. That was the cost of the 700 pounds that were partially complete. Okay, and I'm going to add my cost to complete them this month, which I incurred $840 of conversion costs. So now the actual cost of completing the August 1st working process is going to be the sum of these two numbers. That gives me $4,319. So I'm going to have to spend $4,319 to complete the coffee beans from last month. Okay. Now we're going to get what we started and completed this month in August. Okay. So how are we going to do that? Well, we're going to come up here to the first part where we calculated our equivalent units, and we're going to get what we started and completed in August. This right here, 13,900. Okay. So I'm going to highlight this another color, maybe a blue. Okay. So I've got my 13,900. I've got for direct materials 13,900, for conversion 13,900. These represent the coffee beans that were started and completed during the month of August. Okay, I'm going to get those 13,900 and I'm going to multiply them respectively against the 460 and the $1.50. Okay, so the first one we have started and completed in August, and this is for direct materials. That is going to be your 13,900 times your 460. That gives me 63,940. Okay, so these numbers are blue. Okay, and then these numbers are green. That way you know where we're getting these numbers. So these numbers tie back to these numbers multiplied by your cost per equivalent unit. The blue numbers are the blue numbers up here, the 13,900 times your cost per equivalent unit. Okay, so then that's going to be 13,900 times your conversion cost per unit is $1.50. That gives me $20,850. Okay, so we're going to add my materials and conversion cost. And then that gives me $84,790. So now I can calculate your this is what we've completed. This is what we had started last month and we completed this month. This is what we started this month and completed this month. So this is everything. Now we have to calculate the total transferred to finished goods in August. Okay. Right here. 89,109 transferred to finished goods in August. So that is requirement number 3. Cost of goods finished during August. During August, this is what we finished. This is requirement, is it 3 or yes, requirement 3. Okay, and that needs to be text. Okay, so this is requirement number 3. They're asking us to calculate what was going to be transferred to finished goods in August. Okay, cost of goods finished during August, and that is what it is, 89,109. That is what has been. That is what was finished during the month of August and transferred to finished goods. Okay, and then we have to figure out the cost of working process at August the 31st. So that we have to figure out how much do we have pending to complete this month. Okay, so we've got the inventory in process August the 31st. Okay, now for that we have another column down here. Okay, so inventory in process, we've got 400 units, and let me pick another color. Okay, we've got 400 units for direct material purposes and 168 for conversion cost purposes. Okay, so this is my inventory in process at the end of the month. So we're going to pick up the 400 times the 460, the 168 times the 150. Okay, so first let's do the materials. So the materials is 400 times 460. Then the conversion cost is 168 times 150, and that gives me 252. Okay, So this is your inventory in process August the 31st. This is what is pending to be completed. These are the costs associated with that. And then that's going to give me 2,092. Okay. So that is requirement 4. Cost of work in process August the 31st. The cost of your work in process, okay, is right here. This is requirement 4. Let me just format it. So requirement 4 is, what is the cost of the work in process as of August the 31st? Well, your inventory in process as of the end of the month, we calculated the 1840 by getting our equivalent units of production for direct materials for the inventory in process of 400 times your direct material cost per equivalent unit of 460, and that gave us the 1840. And then these three numbers tie back to this. So on the top part, we calculated the units to be assigned costs for our beginning inventory, for what we started and completed, and for our ending inventory. And then we calculated our cost per equivalent unit. These two numbers are super important because this is where we're going to be multiplying to figure out our cost allocation down here. Okay, down here, what we do is we get the quantity from the top, the quantities, times the cost per equivalent unit to get these figures down here. Okay, so that is that. And now we can calculate the total costs assigned by the roasting department. Okay, and then for that, we're going to go ahead and we are going to add whatever was transferred plus the inventory in process at the end of the month, and that gives me 91,201. Okay, so that is the total cost assigned by the roasting department at the end of August. Okay, so the inventory in process represents the portion that has been completed as of that point in time. It's still not done, but that is what the cost associated with beginning the process for those goods right there. So the total cost assigned by the roasting department, it will be a total of 91,201. So that is requirement A, items 1 through 4, and these are the items 1, 2, 3, and 4. Okay. Now requirement B is asking us to compute and evaluate the changes in cost per equivalent unit for direct materials and conversion from the previous month, July. Okay. So I've set up a little table down here. So we have our materials and then we have our conversion cost. Okay. So we have to compare August to July to figure out, are our costs in line? Are they greater or are they less? Okay, because management needs to figure this out so they can make adjustments. Okay, so from the current period, okay, materials, we're looking at materials. So from my current period for materials, okay, we're going to be picking up the numbers from right here. Okay, okay, and that's $4.60. Okay. Now, we're going to compare that from the beginning of the period. Okay, where am I going to get that number from? Well, if we look up here, it tells me that my direct materials were $4.70. Okay, $4.70 were my direct materials as of August the 1st or the end of July, whatever you want to call it. So it's $4.70. Okay. So, this represents a decrease of 10 cents. So, I spent 10 cents less per pound of coffee from last month to this month. So, that's good. We had a decrease in our materials of 10 cents. Okay? That's very good. 10 cents. Now, let's do the same analysis, but now for conversion costs. For conversion costs, my conversion costs for the current period is $1.50. Okay, right here, $1.50. Okay, that way you know where I'm getting this number. We're getting it from right there. $1.50 from right there. Okay, and we're going to compare from the beginning period. And from the beginning period, my conversion costs were $1.35. I'm getting it from right there. Okay, so they were $1.35. Okay, so my conversion cost went up from $1.35 to $1.50. So I have an increase. Okay, an increase of 15 cents. So my conversion cost increased per unit 15 cents. My materials decreased by 10 cents per unit. Okay, so compute the changes in cost. We already computed it. Okay, and now they're asking you to evaluate. Okay, so based on the information that we just calculated right here, okay, what can we say? So we can say that the cost per equivalent unit of materials decreased by 10 cents. Okay, per pound, and the cost per equivalent unit of conversion cost increased by 15 cents per pound. So therefore, management may wish to investigate the causes for the increase in conversion costs. Why did my conversion costs go up by 15 cents a pound? Okay, so those are things that management need to do. Okay, figure out what is causing that increase in my conversion cost of 15 cents. Okay, why are we not being efficient? Okay, so this is the final part of the assignment, which was the evaluate. First, it was the compute, which we did the computation here. We computed the changes from last month to this month, and then we evaluated the information. And this is your whole cost of production report. Okay, the top section calculates your equivalent units in the actual units to be assigned cost. The bottom component deals with the cost. We have to calculate the cost per equivalent unit, which is the $4.60 for direct materials and the $1.50 for conversion cost. Once you get your cost per equivalent unit, you assign the cost to the units to be assigned cost. So you get whatever you have up here. You multiply it by your cost per equivalent unit, and you get these numbers down here. Okay, and then you get, of course, your total. Okay, so it's just a matter of, it's a lot of information. It's just a matter of organizing it and making sure that you run your numbers correctly, and that you multiply your equivalent units times the correct cost. Okay, and that is basically it. You are going to see this problem on your test. When you're working on it on your homework, make sure that you understand, take good notes, and know where each of your numbers is coming from. Okay, because you're going to see it again. Remember, you have 2 tries on your homework, and I always keep the highest grade earned. So if you didn't do very well on the first take, please use the second take to try to improve, and of course, get extra practice. Because in accounting, the only way to get any better is to practice, practice, practice. Okay, so that is the end of exercise 17-16. Until next time, thank you very much.